It looks like it's working. Here we go. Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Good morning.
No, you know that schoolboy error where you don't actually mute the tabs that you need to mute. I'm just going to mute every single tab that needs to be muted because all I can hear is myself multiple times over and over and over again. Which one is causing the problem? I'm sorry about this. Unmute tab. That's mute that one. Let's mute. Okay, I think I've got it. That sound has now gone away. That's great. Sorry about that. Complete catastrophe of a beginning. We made it. We are here live doing the WP Builds news once more. We always go around and sort of share our little moniker, who we are, our little elevator pitch, if you like. So I'll start, first of all, with you, Mr. Paul Lacey. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Paul here, WordPress enthusiast and co-founder of the Dicky Bird studio in the UK. That's me.
Okay, and first time on the show. Great to have you. It's Kim Doyal.
What's up? Thanks for having me at very early in the morning.
Yeah. Kim was just telling us that she was out late, and we've got her up at like stupid. And here she is. But thank you. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
No, just thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. Last down there in the corner is Shane. Hi, Shane.
Hello, Nathan and Paul and Kim and everyone else watching. Yeah. I'm Shane from co-founder of Lonely Viking based in South Africa, and we focus on branding and custom development.
Thank you very much. I have still yet to figure out this whole two-screen layout thing, because last week I had it the other way around and it looked dead weird because I was staring over there all the time. This time I've swapped it around, but I'm still staring over there all the time. So I don't know quite what I've done wrong, but nevertheless, we'll sort of give it a go. I'm going to share my screen. You know what the best way to do this is? I think that way looks pretty good. Are you happy with that, everybody? We can still see us. And we can sort of see my screen over here, hopefully, as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, is that working? Just a couple of things. We are WP Builds. We're a podcast and a sort of news thing that we do on a Monday about WordPress. We're at wpbuilds.com. Just a bit of self-promotional stuff, if that's all right. We've got this button here, Black Friday Deals. I'm putting together a Black Friday Deals page, which you can find over here. I know that Black Friday is kind of like a bit of a big thing. It's kind of like searchable, filterable, click buttons, type text, and so on, and it kind of filters down. What I'm going to say is, if you want to receive email updates about this, just click on this little button here, and you can fill out your name, and I'll send you an email the moment I find out about any deals. I'm going to start doing those later this week. And also, if you're a developer or plugin owner or something, fill out this button, click that button there, and submit your product, and I'll get it on there. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the WordPress Weekly News, which is this one. You can find the archive just here under Archives, News Archive. And we always talk about the one at the top left, which looks like this today. So, should we crack on with it, fellas, ladies?
Friends.
Yeah.
Friends, Romans, and countrymen, show me your WordPress news. Do you know, I nearly brought a ukulele for today's show. I've been practicing the ukulele, and I thought, wouldn't it be quite a comedic moment if I sang a song to Kim Doyal?
Back there.
I already felt like this was like the Brady Bunch with the windows. Do you remember, didn't the dad play the ukulele on a vacation? I'm totally dating myself.
Yeah, I actually kind of like penned a very short song and then realized it was utter rubbish. So I left the ukulele downstairs. Right, let's get on with it. What have we got? We've got some, actually, this is a pretty significant bit of a week this week, because we have a new version of WordPress, which is pretty important. It's been called Kirk. It's always named after some jazz musician. And because I'm not really that familiar with jazz, basically the names are meaningless, but I think his name was probably Kirk and he probably played jazz music. We got a couple of articles. We've got the WP Tavern article, and then we actually link here as well to probably make.wordpress.org. No, it's actually a WP Shout thing, which actually links over to the WordPress 5.3 field guide. Yeah, you all had a play, guys? You've been enjoying this, checking out what it can do, and anything you want to add about it?
It is a significant release. It's the first major one with the block editor in full force, as far as I'm aware. And obviously, they've really gone to town with the new theme. That what's the guy's name? Is it
Anders Norren?
Yeah, Anders Norren has created probably the nicest core WordPress theme in terms of style that we've seen. It really does look beautiful, and then the other cool things in there is that the block editor has made some significant improvements. You've got a new block for nesting child blocks. They've improved accessibility. I don't know how much they've improved accessibility, but they're saying it's a big thing. There was a really good episode on the Hello WP podcast a while ago where somebody tested out the accessibility of the block editor, and it was kind of hilarious.
Pretty painful, wasn't it?
In a bad way. And so there's just a whole bunch of maturity things. It felt like when the block editor came out, we went back to like a almost an alpha product that we had to kind of just deal with for a while and patch it with the classic editor. But it definitely is getting there. And there's 600 and something contributors.
Yeah, I think it was 643. I'm just going to randomly say 640. Oh, I was so close. 645.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. I mean, it really is a lot of people.
Well, you know, they've changed the buttons. Not everyone likes it. Clark Marshall doesn't like it. For anyone who knows who Clark is,
we're going to have to roll it back. We're going to have to roll it back for Clark, because if Clark's not happy, I'm not happy, frankly.
It's a big improvement to the UI for me in terms of the buttons alone, in terms of the outline buttons and then the filled buttons. So when you install a plugin, you press to install it. It's an outline button. When it's installed, it's a block button, and then you can click it and you can kind of see that difference.
Yep.
The WordPress UI is still probably quite old school compared to some of the bootstrappy type stuff that we see and the Google Material styles, but I think it's definitely an improvement. So I don't think I've been interested in a WordPress release for a long time, and this one is fairly interesting.
Yeah, I would totally agree. The sort of notable things that I noticed was I got asked about my admin email the first time I logged in, and I kind of knew that was coming, but still it was a bit like, ooh, what's that all about? It's kind of it was a bit jarring because it's never happened before. It's like, hang on a minute. There's a hack going on here. Do you know what I mean? It's just something a little bit strange. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, if you save like a page or a post, instead of that having that like bar that appears at the top where it says preview, you know, post saved preview, which you have to dismiss, this little notification comes up in the bottom left. It's almost like the kind of thing you would have, I think they call it a toast notification at the bottom of a mobile phone screen. And after a few seconds, it just sort of takes itself away. So that's quite cool. Also, there was something down here that I wanted to mention, but I can't see it now. Oh yeah, this is quite interesting. Your large images are now going to be smushed, to use the vernacular. If you've uploaded an image which is bigger than this number of pixels, 2,560, WordPress will automatically squash it to that size, and from that moment on, it will become the full size image. But there is a way around it. This fantastically named Disable Big Image Threshold plugin. Come on. And yeah, so that's going to disable it. And the idea is...
I'm really easily amused this early. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say that again randomly in about 10 minutes time. We'll see if it elicits the same reaction.
It reminds me of the Peter Kay. If anyone knows who Peter Kay is outside of the UK, I assume they do. He's a comedian. And he does this sketch, doesn't he? I don't know if you've seen, where he's talking about the family sitting in the lounge, and they're like, they refer to the main light in the center of the room as the big light. Turn big light on. Turn big light on.
Yeah. I'm exactly like that. So anyway, the point is, if you like, for example, imagine you're like a photography site or something like that, and you are flogging like really high quality images, and that is what you do for a living. You don't really want that leaving on. So there is this, here it comes, Disable Big Image Threshold plugin. No, it just wasn't as good.
Turn big images on. Turn big pictures on.
Yeah. Turn on big picture. To use the Yorkshire vernacular. Anyway, so I think that's quite a significant thing. But anyway, I've noticed that I'm talking again. What about you, Shane or Kim? Got anything you want to add?
Well, the first thing I noticed were the buttons on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm on the UI. That was it.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to play with anything else. And I'm not going to go under the hood a whole lot, but I think I like it. I think it looks good. Get used to it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I actually like the way it looks. It's subtle, kind of like what do they call those buttons where it's basically just a border? Is it like a transparent button or something like that?
Like they call ghost. What do they call it? There's a name for it, but yeah, it's just nice to see something new on the back end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fairly sizable release, and I confess I haven't played much with the new capabilities in the block editor. But like you said, Paul, it just seems to be getting better and better. If this, I kind of feel like maybe some people somewhere, without revealing it, without being able to reveal it, that's maybe a better way of putting it. If this is their vision, I'm starting to get a grip on what the vision is, just a little bit. I'm starting to understand why everything is becoming a block and the capabilities of it, and the idea that you can install blocks directly into the block editor without having to go to the sort of plugin screen and all of that kind of stuff. It seems like it could be really, really transformative. And Matt, of course, has got the idea that this will be the sort of like the UI for the whole internet. So we'll see how that goes.
You know, when in terms of how people reacted to the block editor at the beginning, you know, I remember me saying to some of my friends online, I'm going to quit WordPress and everything. And, you know, I really did mean it as well. I was really stressed about it. And but now when it was released, you got that sense that, you know, when you hear about someone who gets injured and they're told by their doctor you will never walk again. Right. And then you hear the story later on that like a year later they didn't give up and now they're walking. They're not winning any marathons or anything at the moment. So it's not like, you know, the Gutenberg or the block editor is better than Beaver Builder or better than Elementor or ACF all combined and everything. But it feels like, you know, it was almost like WordPress was never going to walk again. It was that dramatic from everyone. And now they're taking its first steps and everyone's amazed that, you know, it can do that. So.
I'm just Nathan, loving that analogy.
It's a good. Are you guys all on? Have you moved over to Gutenberg, or anybody using the classic editor still?
No, I was holding out for the longest time, and then and I don't even know why I did it. I had to write a bunch of stuff in plain text, so it's just text, and so I figured, I'll give it a go. And this was about 3 months after it had really, you know, it's probably about February time or something this year, and I totally got it straight away. I was just like, oh, this is fine. This is exactly what I need. And the thing that did it for me was writing long form text like I was. It was the ability to move paragraphs up and down with the little buttons. Oh, apparently that's been improved, by the way. Apparently now it glides into position. I haven't checked it, but apparently now if you move one up and down, it sort of like sweeps up and all the others sweep down so that you it stays in the middle. Like a typewriter would. So yeah, I'm all in on it. I can't think of the last time I opened up the classic editor to write something new.
Nice. I haven't switched yet, but I'm ready.
Yeah, honestly, Kim, just dive in with both feet.
Yeah,
and it's all right. You know, Paul will sort you out.
Your own content, I'd definitely suggest using it, Kim.
Yeah,
kind of like, will they be okay with this or not? And you know your different clients. their level, and so for some I'm still using classic editor because it's just too much support to try and explain.
Great.
Some of them don't like change.
I feel like I went back 5 years. It's like Back to the Future. Yeah, so I'm totally. I mean, just the capability to do little things like put a button in and style a button inside the content without having to go off somewhere and find a shortcode or actually write the HTML to make the button. I mean, the button module, the button block, it's pretty limited. You know, it expands only to the width of the text that you've put in it, and you can change the colors, and that's about it. But it's getting better. I can see, you know, with all these add-ons like Editor's Kit and Co-Blocks and all of that, that this is the future.
It reminds me of writing on Medium. I'm not that I write on Medium a ton, but I love it. It's a good writing experience, and if you know. I'm not doing it for clients, but Devinder did my site. He's like, just keep waiting. Just wait. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to pull the plug.
Yeah. All right. Have we said
group block as well? There's one more just worth mentioning is the group block. So let's say you've got an address and a phone number and an email on a contact page or something, and they're all different blocks. You can group them together, and then when you move that around, you can move the entire group together, which you could do before. You could just highlight them all, but at least you kind of, again, if you were doing it for a client or something, you'd be like, okay, there's your contact information block. You can move that if you want below or up and down. And here's your map block. So you can group those different ones together. Not tried that yet, but I just noticed it was in the list.
So, and again, I haven't tried that. So if I put a bunch of blocks and nest in other blocks and what have you, then if I take the top one and move it down, they all go. Yeah,
they'll all go together.
Yeah, that is cool.
In a defined group rather than you selecting a bunch of them and then moving.
You know what? It kind of feels like how I suppose they couldn't have got to this point without people widely using it, but it kind of feels like now it's just where it should have been when it was released. That's wrong. I don't mean that, but I mean, it kind of reached a certain level of maturity that nobody would have been complaining quite as much. I don't think if it had been
this is agile development, isn't it? At its core, where this is working.
Yeah. Okay, let's put the screen back up and see where we're going next. Kim wants to talk about this. I don't know if she wants to talk about it without me getting my ugly feet in first, but this is close to my heart, Kim. So I really like this. WP Mayor talked about WP and Op.
Mm-hmm. You jump in, and I will jump in.
Okay, so the team over at WP and Op, of which I am trying to be one, this article was produced by, remove yourself. It was put together by Alex, and he's basically sort of like trying to tell a wider audience about what it is that WP and Op are doing. If you don't know, brief summary, WP and Op are a free to access support network specifically for the WordPress community. But the idea is that if you have something that you would like somebody else to take a look at, be that with your mental, physical health, or your work, or your business, or your skills, whatever it might be, that's what it's for. And at the moment, we're in a bit of a drive to raise some cash because this stuff is tremendously expensive to put on. And so Alex has written this lovely article basically explaining what it is that WP and Op does, what it can do. This insane bike ride that we've got ourselves involved in, going from Berlin all the way to Portugal in just reading it makes me fret. 3,000 kilometers, 6 countries in 30 days. I'm now perspiring. And how you can help. And I suppose in a sense, this is the meat and the potatoes of this article. You can volunteer your time. But if you would like to, and you're feeling like you would like to open your wallet, you can also donate some cash for the very important work that is being done. So there we go, Kim.
I just think it's wonderful that they're doing this. And, I connected just this past summer with Corey Miller, and he's very passionate about mental health too. And I just think as entrepreneurs, it is so desperately needed. WordPress space, yes, but I don't know. It can get really lonely. And when you're in it alone, or you think you're in it alone, it can get dark sometimes. Lots of ups and downs. I've had so many conversations on the podcast, or Paul and I have talked offline, and you just, we all need this, and it's vitally important. I think that things are shifting, and I keep saying this on my show, like in the marketplace in general, but with WordPress, mental health is becoming just mainstream to talk about it. I mean, it's clear that we need this desperately to remove the stigma, to remove the, I'm the only one in this. So I think it's wonderful. I still talk to my therapist 16 years later, so you know how I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting because I could be completely wrong about this, but it feels like maybe this is the beginning of the floodgates opening. I mean, when apart from in our lifetimes was it possible to work entirely at home and entirely in one room and entirely in the same chair? I suppose that was probably a really dim, distant prospect for just about anybody. You had to go off to your workplace and you were always surrounded by people. And yet now perfectly good careers can be made as well. I'm sitting in this chair that I've sat in yesterday. I'll sit in it tomorrow, and I'll probably sit in it for the days following on from that. And of course, sometimes that just gets a little bit lonely. It's frustrating. It's hard. Yeah. And just having somebody that you can call up. And I know I keep banging on about this, but please please make use of that website, wpandup.org. Just, if there's anything that you feel isn't quite where it should be or quite in position, quite where you want it to be. So, yeah. Paul,
well, especially,
Shane? Sorry.
I was just going to one more thing. Just when you're working at home alone, I don't know about you guys, but how many people 12 years later still have no idea what I do? They're like, now that we have the planner, they're like, oh, you sell something on the internet. Now they get it. But so not only are you working alone, but everyone else is like, what do you do? So you're you've got it coming from both sides almost. You're having to defend and try to explain, I make a living, this is what I do. And it just kind of goes over people's head, and the interest isn't always there either. Yeah,
the sort of setup that we've got in the UK is we have this sort of like free at the point of access health service, but it can be slow unless you've got dramatically, life-changing problems right away. It can be a grind. And so this just sort of circumvents all of that. You can speak to people, and the idea is that we'll connect you with people who have something similar. So you've got somebody that knows what you're going through to talk to be a mentor with. Anyway, Paul, Shane, if you've got anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, I think it's great. I've noticed recently, like just in some of the WordPress-based Facebook groups, people seem to be more willing to be vulnerable in sort of a public space with challenges that they're dealing with. And I think something like WP and Up has helped to make people feel like, okay, there are a lot of us in the same boat, essentially. And it's okay to share that I'm having a challenge. I think part of being in business is like that whole fake it till you make it kind of mindset, where you got to put on the facade that everything's going well, because that will bring you in more business. But I think in certain groups and scenarios, people are realizing it's okay to be vulnerable with people. And I think that's an important thing, because that's when you get the support that you need. And then there's something like WP and Up, which is like, if someone needs to do that same thing, but with anonymity, they get to call up somebody and talk to them. And I think it's hugely important. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, really important work. Paul, if you have anything to say, I'll go for it.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot recently about transparency and honesty in this regard and stuff. And so two things, two good listens is Kim's podcast at kimdoyal.com, because your podcast used to be, a bit like WP Builds podcast or something, talking about different WordPress things and stuff like that. And now it's like a transparent business journal, sharing the wins, the failures, the things you're excited about, the things that are getting you down and everything. So that's a really good listen.
Thank you.
Another good, no worries. I always enjoy listening to it. I always email you after, so you have to say, I really like that bit. But another good listen is the author of this particular article on WP Mayer, which is, and I've already tried to type his surname into Google, and it told me that it was 4 out of 5 difficulty to pronounce. So if I get this wrong, then it was a hard one. It is Alex Jusniewicz.
It's Junkovitz, I think.
There you go. I was a fail. He's got an episode on the WP and Up podcast, which I listened to on a drive, and it was a shocking episode. It was just, I was just expecting, I had some tough time this, like when I did mine, I had something upset me and this and the other, but his was pretty awesome. So I recommend anybody goes and finds his episode on WP and Up podcast. But yeah, the transparency thing, because I also listened to another podcast the other day that was saying, let's say there was somebody who wanted to interview Donald Trump's son about something and whether or not he was legit in some book that is released. Right? I don't know anything about American politics.
I don't either.
But what he said, this guy wanted to interview him for more than 45 minutes, because this guy was saying that apparently it's proven that when you're trying to lie, right, that you can only maintain that for around 45 minutes until it starts becoming quite mentally stressful on your brain. So if you have a mask on all the time with what your business should be, and you've got that almost all day, and every time you're tweeting about how awesome this is, then that's just going to build up, and then you just start getting exhausted with the lies. So I've been thinking a lot and listening to TED Talks about honesty and transparency, And I think that applies to when you've got issues with yourself. One of the hardest things sometimes is to be honest with yourself. If you're suffering, it's easy to go and say I was suffering a year ago and talk about that, but to actually say I'm suffering right now
Yeah.
That's what I had to say.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really, really good point. I think I was really well put. I've never thought about it like that. The stress of lying. That's something I haven't really considered before. But I lie all the time, so I must be under constant stress. I shouldn't.
45 minutes you'd say something true and you'll be fine.
Yes, I should. I'm not trying to make light of it. That was glib and stupid of me. Apologies. Okay, so thank you, WP and Op, for all that you do, and I hope that the journey continues for many years to come. Let's go do something else. Let's talk about this one. Where is it gone? This one. This is interesting, right? Because I totally misjudged this. So WordCamp US this year was in a place called St. Louis. I didn't go. I know quite a few people that did go, and I'm not going to be. I am not saying this to be cruel, but a few of the people that I know who went came back, and whilst they had some good things to say, they also had some critical things to say, and so interesting, right? But this, I thought, would have elicited completely the opposite reaction. They've decided, so WordCamp US goes to the same location 2 years in a row, so it's going to go to St. Louis again. That was always the case. But they've decided to put it on the 27th through the 29th of October, which, fine, that's normal. There's 3 days in a row, till you figure out that those 3 days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I thought, no way is that going to go down well. This just seems ridiculous. And I kind of felt that, they must have been booked out by, that somebody must have booked it, and these are the only dates that were available or something like that. And then so I put a little poll in the WP Builds Facebook group to say essentially what I thought was silly. I thought this isn't going to go down well. Well, I was totally wrong. The vast majority of people thought this was way better. And I was like, what? And then I was talking to Paul just before this call began, and we're both freelancers. So during the week, we can do what we like. So if we show up to a conference, it's just kind of like a part of our week. But the majority, I suppose, of the people who attend these events are actually at work, and they regard a WordCamp as another bit of work. So if you're doing a 5-day week, you do Monday to Friday, you go to WordCamp, then you do another 5-day week, you've basically done 2 weeks without any time off. So, quick poll: who prefers this? Who would go on these days? Paul?
I just voted that I would put up with it, but I wouldn't like it because I know that when I go to something like that, I'm aware that I'm getting hammered by emails, people trying to call me at the same time, and I know that it goes quiet on the weekend, so I'd be able to relax and just enjoy the event. Whereas if I worked for a company in the WordPress space, so this is a reason not to employ me in a company in the WordPress space, I'd be thinking, let's have it in the week and then I can have the enjoyment. Because there's no way, right? The WordCamps that I've been to, I would get fired if I classed the majority of the things I get up to at WordCamps as work.
You're gonna have to qualify that.
Company property, drinking too much, and generally just sitting around talking to friends. That it's probably work for some other people, obviously, but so I'd struggle to. Although I do obviously class it as a business expense. Yeah,
interesting. What about you, Kim? Would you go on these days, or is that inconvenient?
No, I'd rather go during the week.
Yeah, you see, you are exactly what I was not predicting, but that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Shane?
Yeah, I would like to go in the week as well. I think. I guess it depends what you view as work or not. It's networking, I suppose. I guess, I get what Paul's saying though. Like I would get behind on my actual work, and I would have things to catch up on, which I'd most likely end up doing on the weekend, which is not good. But I don't know. I think the week seems cool to me.
Yeah. I suppose this is the paragraph that kind of me and Paul are on. It's this one here where it's, ooh, crikey. On the other hand, some attendees might find it hard to attend during the week. This is particularly true for WordCamp goers who do not work with WordPress professionally. Well, that certainly fits me, at least. They may not be able to get time off work. So, yeah, interesting. Okay, well, there we go. No worries about that. I think it's happening anyway, so we'll see. I am interested to see what the numbers do, though, whether or not it sort of like plummets or goes through the roof. Whether, the companies will give their employees the time off to go and do this. We will wait and see. What did we have? Chris Hughes saying, I'm with you on that. Be nice to be in places where everything is open and active in the city when visiting too. Putting it in the week puts camps up a level to more of a business conference, which I'm good with. Okay, fair enough. Right, fine. Do you want to talk about any of these ones? Let's just go through. Give us a shout if you think they're important enough, because the time is sort of moving on. Takeaways from WooSesh. Anybody want to talk about that? No. All right, let's move on then. Some of them are just less interesting, but I put them in anyway. I think we should do this one, though. Let's talk about this new 2020 theme, because it's the one that comes with WordPress 5.3. This is the iThemes article about it. And it looks, look at it. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm not happy about this alignment of this A, slightly off. Who am I to say? Honestly, I feel so bad about saying that. Look at it. It's lovely. Really, really lovely. And apparently it just does things with the block editor that so for example, if you alter the colors over here, it immediately affects the way it looks over here, and allegedly it's
very cool.
Very, very nice indeed. So yeah, I mean, it's good. Maybe nobody's got anything to add to that, but I like it. Looks pretty cool, but I haven't had a play. I'm just basing it upon what I see on websites like this.
It's just clean. I have, that's the first time I've seen it. I love it.
Yep.
It looks really nice.
Yep.
It's great for reading. I mean, which is really nice.
All of this stuff suddenly that becomes possible with Gutenberg, this kind of a layout where you just literally click a button. And in fact, I think that's maybe what we saw down here. Yeah, here we go. Preview of a quote. Presumably that quote ends up looking a bit like that. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But it looks really nice. And iThemes have done a nice job of kind of explaining all the bits and pieces. So you get the in-page post previews. You got loads of customization options. You got 3 different templates by default that gives you more information about them, and different block styles and so on. It looks nice. Looks nice. Can't say that I'm probably going to install it and use it, but it's nice as a sort of way to figure out what may be possible. Anyway, there you go. This is interesting as well. Something I've never installed and never played with. Kim's clearly got something to say about this. You got axe to grind here, Kim.
Well, just years ago with the BBPress for Dummies, the buddy. It was just like, oh my God. I just was like, there's no way. I mean, and that was a long time ago. We're talking probably like 2010. But still, and I'm just curious. I mean, with, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see with forums and stuff, especially at this time where I think a lot of people, as much as we love Facebook, it's like nobody needs another group to log into. So it might be just what communities need. Hopefully it is an easy process to put in.
Do you think that this kind of solution is, well, here's the interesting thing, right? Although the story here is that it's been updated to 2.6. Some count them 6 years after the last major update. So that is quite a long time sitting doing nothing. Wow. And the takeaway from that was that essentially there just wasn't anybody doing it. There was nobody prepared to sort of spend the time troubleshooting it. There was very little time from the guys that were tasked with doing it, but they finally have done it. But where's that number? It's like giant. 300,000 is what I'm going to say. 300,000 websites are currently saying that they use BBPress, which is pretty amazing. But I feel like the day of the forum is a bit gone.
Yeah, I wouldn't log into a forum, but at the same time, I do think, I mean, if you look at what is that other, there's another platform now, and I cannot think of the life of me, but people are doing memberships and communities over there as opposed to Facebook. So I don't know, maybe, I think people use Slack communities now for discussions.
Yep. And it's trivial. You set it up, press a few buttons, and you're good to go, and everybody's got that universal master login. I suppose it just feels like that this was the best way of doing that kind of stuff back in the day. But anyway, it has been updated. I've got no experience with it whatsoever, but it's pretty phenomenal that 300,000 sites are still using it. So anyway, it's had its update. So go and check that out. They've got new API and various other features. But yeah, go read this article by the fabulous Justin Tadlock, who I've got nothing but great things to say about. I'm loving what he's doing at the WP Tavern. Right, I've got a feeling, Paul.
Discussions you carry around in your pocket, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Say that again.
That's why all your discussions are on Slack or Facebook, because you've got an app directly tied into your phone with notifications that you can control, and they're just right here on your phone. So that's I think, why traditional discussion forums aren't such a thing, because they were popular when we didn't have phones and you needed to log into a web browser to go and have those discussions, and now we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. A couple of times I thought about setting one up for WP Builds, and I got as far as kind of looking at the site, and then I just thought nobody's going to log in. There's not a hope in any day that anybody's going to actually set up, go fill out their credentials, put in their username and password. It's just not going to happen because everybody's kind of wedded to Facebook and so on. So anyway, all of that
popular on the dark web.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Do you want to tell us about that, Paul?
BBPress.
You want to tell us what you bought on the dark web lately?
Oh, it's just what I heard.
Where do you need to be anonymous, Paul?
Yeah. Have you seen that hat? The Mr. Robot hat. He tells us it's the Matt Report hat. It's the Mr. Robot hat. We know it is. Secretly, by day, web developer. By night, shady dark web.
There's a good podcast on the Audible. If anyone subscribes to Audible, there's a good series on the dark web, podcast series about the dark web.
It's actually quite a fascinating subject. We make light of it, but it is quite an interesting area.
It is really interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay, next one I've got for you then is Paul. You want to talk about goodness knows who's going to make use of this one as well. We've done BBPress. This one, the recurring revenue payment feature, which is coming into Jetpack and WordPress.com.
Yeah, it's quite a funny article. I mean, it doesn't intend to be funny, but it's just, you can tell that Justin is writing it with a bit of a grin on his face at times. It's talking about the new feature whereby you can hook up your website, your WordPress.com or your Jetpack enabled site to Stripe and take subscription payments. But it's very, very basic. They've had to rebrand what it's called because they initially called it the membership block or something like that, and which kind of implied that you could create a simple membership site with that. When there were kind of questions to sort of say, you can't actually create a membership site with this, you can just take a Stripe payment and that's it. They recommended that maybe you could use that combined with a password protected post, which is
it's bulletproof.
I mean, I hope I can get paid for that by my clients to create them a really amazing membership site with just a direct Stripe payment and a password protected post. But it's interesting. It does mean that somebody who literally just wants to be able to sort of, for instance, take subscription donations maybe could use it. But I don't think you can tie it to any digital product or anything like that at all. There's something later on in the news that's probably better for that.
Yeah.
And then just the cynic in me just thought, when will we see Jetpack installed by default, like the Hello plugin in WordPress? So you can download it, but maybe you can also download the clean install WordPress. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, Shane, Kim, anything on this one? Probably
not from me.
No, we've gone all in with WooCommerce, so I can't. I mean, just for the full thing, I can't imagine. I mean, I think there's too many plugins out there that make it too easy.
Yeah, that's the
to
point.
Sell one thing with a little bit better, so it looks a little bit better, and you feel more like okay. I mean, and really, Jetpack. Ugh.
But look at this as well. Look at the fee structure. If you're on, so if you get Jetpack, you can install this into WordPress.org. But if you're on WordPress.com, look at this. Look at the money they're charging. So it's 8% on top of Stripe's 2.9%. So really, by the time you get up here, you're looking at 11%. So you're going to give 11% of your money if you're on the personal plan. It goes down and down until by the time you get to the e-commerce tier, you're actually paying them no fees. But you know what?
But they're screwing the little one, the little person.
Yeah. They're adding another 8% on top, and presumably though they're just after the people who just want the non-technical solution. Click a button, it's done. I can now take recurring payments. But be mindful, I'm sure everybody listening to this will have a different, more affordable, probably slightly more, adaptable solution than this. But interesting that they've done it. A little bit more money coming their way. So there we go. I don't think anybody's going to want to talk about the new blocks in WooCommerce. Maybe Kim is. Maybe Kim. She's just said she's a WooCommerce user. But do you know anything about these new blocks in WooCommerce 1.3.8, Kim?
No.
No, fair enough.
we haven't. No. I mean, I think we're more focused on ads right now than anything on the back end.
Well, I'll tell you what you got. You've got the reviews block where you can add some reviews in. Product search block where you can do a product search. So basically, you just click a button and you can throw a product search onto any page. And you can do these reviews where people leave reviews. It's fairly interesting stuff, and some performance improvements. But that's about it. Let's quickly close that page and do something else. I quite liked this article, actually. It sounds like a really uninteresting subject, but it's WP Offload Media, right? Because if you install their plugin, I've just allowed all their cookies. Why? If you install their plugin, what you can do is you can enable it so that when you upload, I don't know, an image or something, it just sucks it straight up to, let's say, Amazon's S3. Well, that all sounds well and good. Great. Turns out the 5.3 release of WordPress kind of killed what they were doing, because they built it so that the old way of doing things, it all worked fine. But now that you've got this squashy image technology, which kills big images and squashes them down to a smaller one, the way it's done is completely different. And it uses this WP update attachment metadata function. It calls it a whole bunch of times. So they've basically had to rewrite their whole kind of plugin to accommodate this tiny minor feature that nobody even saw coming or is probably ever going to even notice. And they've had to go right back to the beginning and not start again. But it was just interesting that how your business can be completely turned upside down by a minor thing in WordPress that benefits probably just about everybody, but makes it so that you've got to start again. I felt a little bit sorry for them having to do that. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Anybody? Now, I know that Paul wants to talk about this one. This is interesting. We had quite a long discussion earlier before we started doing the show. Back on WP Mayor getting in this week, because there's this new thing. Kim, you might be interested in this called, but actually you probably won't, but nevertheless.
I might surprise you. Go ahead.
No, it's just, I think if you've got WooCommerce, I'm not sure really what the benefit of this is. Anyway, we've got Prodigy Commerce being reviewed. I don't know, Paul, Shane, do you want to lead on this one? Paul, you've totally gone silent. Hold on.
Yeah.
Paul. Oh, hold on. I'm muting you. You're unmuting yourself. We're muting each other. We're cancelling each other out.
It's like when you turn the light on and off.
Yeah.
Click. Yeah, so we had to figure out what it actually is first, didn't we?
Yeah.
Prodigy product. And what it is you have a WooCommerce site and you upload your products to the WooCommerce site, but everything around customer management and the orders and payment and all that sort of stuff happens in your cloud panel with Prodigy. So I don't know if you get the duplicate orders in WooCommerce. I think you probably don't. I think that everything happens in the Prodigy thing, which you kind of think, well, why is the point in that? And there is some nice features that make you realize what the point of it is. So, for instance, one of the things it can do is it can handle the order management for you in terms of delivery. So, for instance, it can connect to USPS, FedEx, UPS, DHL. It can hook up straight to, is it stamps.com? Stamps.com, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can do all these kind of things to help that side of things in terms of, getting things delivered and all that sort of stuff. It handles all your things like refunds and all that kind of thing. So if you've got a client whereby, going in the back of WordPress, or if you are just somebody, whether you're a client or not, that wants a simpler panel to manage the shop, then this is a really good possibility. I don't think they even charge anything for using this product. So
I think it's $10.
$10 a month.
Yeah, it's hold on. Yeah, look, here we go on the page now. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can. For payments, Prodigy already has a set up payment. So basically, you're going to use Stripe transaction fee 2.9 plus 30 cents and a flat monthly fee of $10.
Yep, and you get to kind of manage the way your products are displayed on the page as well through the plugin, as far as I'm aware, and the checkout looks very, very nice and clean. So there's all sorts of different benefits. At first, I was thinking, what's the point? And then later on, it became quite an attractive thing. So let's say that you had a business whereby you were doing WAS, website as a service type products, and you wanted a really, really simple solution for people to have. Then maybe you could have a Prodigy add-on whereby they have the ability to upload products into WooCommerce in a cut down version, and then all they needed to do was hook up with a Prodigy account, and that's how you would connect them to the store for simple stores. So it does look like it takes a lot of the hard bits out of managing an online store. The only thing that it made me think about before I realized what it was it just made me think about the unbelievable amount of competition in the SaaS, in the software as a service sector at the moment, whereby tools come out, and if you're thinking about investing risk in your business going with these SaaS solutions, there is so much competition and so much drive to give stuff away for a very cheap price in the SaaS world that you wonder if you can really feel confident that your business is safe in these hands because of the time we're in, not because of the skills they've got, but how difficult it is for companies like this to pop their head above the water and be noticed.
It kind of feels to me that the basic premise is that you're gonna have a website, a WordPress website, which takes care of the display of all the products. So you put everything in the WordPress dashboard, but all of the payment and customer details, all the stuff that actually you're scared of getting hacked and stolen from you, is done on their end. So you get the configurability of a WordPress, like a WooCommerce type thing, but for $10 a month, I could have this wrong, but I think they then take away all that stuff, and the payments and the customer details and all that is done on their end. And if that's the case, I can totally see a point to it, because you get to configure it, style it, what have you, like you would with WooCommerce, I guess. But then all of the things which could go wrong, somebody hacks your site, all the GDPR stuff, I think that's what they're doing. So interesting. Yeah.
Imagine that you had a fairly large company, 100 people worked there, and there was a web team and there was a content team, and then you had the people who dealt with the sales.
Yeah.
Separating that would be really good.
And also they're not going to be serving a lot of stuff, are they? So for $10, all they're doing really is taking like simple little text transaction data, flying backwards and forwards. There's no images, there's no styling, there's no complicated stuff on that side. If you want to search and filter it, you'll have to figure that out for yourself, presumably. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys? So this is not in conjunction with Woo at all. It's basically taking the place of Woo.
Yeah, I think so.
So is this more like a Thrive Cart or a Sam Cart? Just another option?
Yeah, except in the sense that you send them over. But I think, again, I could be wrong from all the stuff that I read, and I confess I read it quite quickly about 5 days ago. It felt like it all looks like it's kind of happening on your site. So, the checkout and everything, whereas Thrivecart, you sort of got that dislocation moment where you either go over there or something which doesn't feel like your cart kind of pops up. Again, maybe we should all go back and look at this, but it just felt like something a bit disruptive and a bit interesting.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah, we started out about an hour ago when we talked about it. All of us were saying, what's the point? This is apps. And then the more we looked at it, it's quite interesting.
Hopefully it'll come to AppSumo soon.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, $10 a month, if that's the pricing that you get, and they manage to sustain that, that's just giving it away, isn't it? That's so cheap.
And I think if they manage to add things like order bumps and upsells and cross sells and all of that stuff, I'm not sure how achievable that would be for them with the link to the WooCommerce products. But I mean, if they could add that, it would be pretty killer, I think, especially if they keep the price the same.
Just having a look at the customization options, so you can do the sort of login. It looks like you can customize things. Anyway, the point being, if the idea of that piqued your interest, we could have got the details wrong on various points, but if the details are of interest, there's a WP Mayor article which is linked in the show notes. Do you want to talk about Fluent Forms, Paul, or not? I know that you mentioned it a minute ago. I don't know if anybody saw, but there was this like lifetime deal thing about Fluent Forms. I know that Paul bought it, I bought it, and they're a bit difficult to style, or at least they're not that great out the box. So I just linked to this article in the news, where basically you just you tap in the fields here, and you change the bits of the form that you want to be changed. You get the idea. You just sort of drag things around, and this will then spit out the CSS that you need at the bottom. I just thought that was a really nice way of making a difficult job for somebody who doesn't know CSS like supremely simple.
Very
so
cool.
if you bought Fluent Forms lifetime deal, this is cool, dead cool. And I confess I haven't then copied and pasted that code in, but these forms actually, well, now the form that I've created looks god awful, but spend half a minute with it and it'll be all right. Did you want to talk about it, Paul? You mentioned it.
No, I was talking more about the other plugin.
Sorry.
WP Manage Front-End Pro.
Okay, let's get on to
solved
that.
a big problem for me last week with a client job, needing to submit, create a form and submit advanced custom fields data into a draft post, but with logic involved and upload fields and and the user interface for that was really, really nice. The funny thing is that then I looked at that company who did that deal on AppSumo. They also had a plugin called WooCommerce that was also on AppSumo.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked at that, and it didn't get very good reviews. I think Chris, who's watching now, maybe reviewed it and wasn't too impressed with it in the WP Builds Facebook group. And then I looked at the Fluent Forms, which I wasn't intending to buy, but then I just saw all the integrations on it, and they were really, really good, and it was a good price for a one-off. I didn't get it at the deal everyone else got it. I was a bit too late, so I got it about a third off or something. I was pretty happy with it though so far looking at it. But yeah, it doesn't look great, but I think for anyone who needs the forms to look a bit nicer, and doesn't really want to mess around with the CSS, then that will help them a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what we were talking about there.
That's right though. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Right. Next couple of things then. We're kind of pushing the time a little bit. So if it's all right, I'm going to miss out the security news. Let's have a look. Yeah. David Wormsley and I did oh no, it wasn't David Wormsley and I really liked doing this podcast, right? I just loved it. Heather Burns, important lady. I really like what she's doing. I did a podcast with her about what online privacy is and how WordPress can change things. I went to see her at WordCamp in London in 2017, and she, I think thus far, is my favorite WordCamp speech that I've ever been to. She was powerful, eloquent, thoughtful, knowledgeable, everything you want. And she turned GDPR, which, let's face it, GDPR. I was completely riveted by what she said. And so she came on the podcast, talked about online privacy, and it's a big subject. She's making the point that it's not just the stuff that these big sites like Facebook and Google are scraping. It's not trivial stuff. They're getting information from every corner of every inch of your life. And how can we protect ourselves? What can we do as web developers to make sure that this stuff is at least we know what's going on? Anyway, so that was that. The other thing is I've got a chat. I can't log into Facebook because I am currently on an incognito window. I'm doing a call with Jim Galliano in about 50 minutes. He's got a brand new course coming out, and it looks really good. And so in about 50 minutes time, back in the Facebook group, I'm going to be having a natter with him about his course. So come and join us again. You probably had peak Nathan Wrigley for this day, but here we go.
Can I just give a big thumbs up to anything Jim Galliano does?
Please do.
I actually was like a founder, subscriber, or whatever it is, to his original course, the bigger version of that course, and which includes actually some time talking to Jim like this, on a video chat. And I think one of the reasons I've been quite quiet in social media for the last 6 months is because I haven't got any more questions.
Nice.
He's helped me get straight in the priorities, what's important, creating a plan, how to execute it, and how to roll it out when I'm ready to do that. And it stopped me dreaming about a million different ideas and got me focused down to just one that is a good hope business idea to help Dicky Birds grow in a nice new direction. I've been a fan of his podcast forever, and so I know this course that he's releasing is really doesn't cost a lot.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't.
to get into the mind of Jim Galliano for that much money is definitely worth the money. I'm not just saying that to just say buy this, buy that, buy whatever. It really will be worthwhile, I think, listening to the call that you do and you put out there.
Good on you, Jim Galliano. Let's see if we get a few people coming on. So that's in about 40 minutes. What I'll do is when we finish this, I'll quickly have a coffee. And then
is it live? You're doing
fresh
it
up.
live?
Yeah. The last one that I want to deal with this week it's just this. This just cracked me up that Google has the sort of audacity to do this. Google is going to start giving us badges based upon how fast our sites load.
Yeah.
So if you're if you have a site which loads slowly, I don't know what that means. Like they're going to give you some sort of sad face or emoji that's like a big poo or something like that. Or if you've got a quick site, big tick or something. I don't know, but I just thought this is intriguing. But maybe I think, is it crossing a boundary? Do they have the right to do this? Do they have the right to smack us down? I know that they can in search, and that's one thing. But when you actually get to the site and you've made the decision to click the button and load that site, do you need to be told, actually, this site's a bit slow?
I think that's crap.
Yeah, intriguing.
No, I mean, we have enough public shaming needs to just be done with. So this is ridiculous. It's like a scarlet letter circa 2020. I'm like, come on, no. Yeah,
I mean, it just says Google is experimenting with a badge of shame. It says on The Verge that loads for websites that load slowly in Chrome. In the future, Chrome may identify sites that typically load fast or slow with clear badging. Good grief. This may take a number of forms, and we plan to use the experiment with different options to determine which provides the most value. Because who ends up winning this battle all the time is the ones that have already got the money, I think, to some extent. And if you're a mom and pop store, you're just going to get the bad badge. You're going to be the bad person. And and I know that's already how it works in search. Sorry, Paul.
Look at the badge of shame, though. It's the Explorer logo.
Yeah, I was just going to say. That's amazing.
This one here. Yeah. Internet Explorer.
I have to say, I think on the one hand, this is terrible as a site owner, but on the other hand, as someone who sells care plans to their clients that include speed optimization, it's kind of a nice way to sell that to your clients.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a bit of a selfish way to look at it, but it's real.
But when I first read this, I was kind of at this point reading it, and this is interesting. And I just assumed that it would be something like here, up at the top where the little padlock is. I just thought it'd be something super innocuous. And then I got down to here, and it was like, we're having the entire page to mock how low.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, because we're too stupid to get the loading thing. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, or just wait. Just everybody calm down.
Yeah.
Chill out. Let it load slowly. It might be some content that you're really interested in, and they simply can't afford to make their site work quickly. But what it does,
I think they can get away with it because, if you've ever tested your sites on Google Page Speed Insights versus any of the other testing ones on mobile, you get these ridiculous things like your website loads in 15 seconds. You're like, the test only took 2 seconds. So what is it talking about? Apparently the desktop one loads in 1 second. The mobile one loads in 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're using their Lighthouse system to do this. And they're putting a very negative, bounce-friendly message on e-commerce stores who then lose business. Well, and it wasn't really loading slow. It was just their testing, their algorithm decides it looks slow.
Oh.
You've got right to sue.
You're getting all litigious now. Just one quick piece of advice for Paul there. I wouldn't sue Google if I were you. I just don't think that's going to end well for you. The other thing is, yeah, well, I expect they've got like a team, like a full-on team of good lawyers. If you want to know about waterfall charts and all that kind of stuff about how your page is loading, here's an article. But I've said everything that I need to say this week. There's a whole load more. Basecamp got a personal version. YouTube are saying from now on they don't necessarily need to keep your content in perpetuity, and PHP 7.4 is around the corner. But that's all I've got to say. I'm done. How do we do? Kim, it's time to go back to bed.
I'm going to go pick up my dogs. I've been gone for 2 weeks. That's my priority. So you actually got me out of bed to go get them early. So thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody want to just sort of drop, URLs, handles, Twitters, all that sort of stuff? We'll go round. Paul.
So last night about 3 a.m. I completed the main part of The Witcher 3.
Yes.
So now I'm on the add-on packs.
It's an exciting. Paul's been telling us about this saga for the last few weeks. You're on to the add-on packs. Okay. Yeah, so basically, you finished the game. Any normal person at this point would have stopped and said, "Don it," not you. Go in for the add-on packs.
No, yeah, the add-on packs come with it, and I'm already halfway through one of them. So I might be by next week. I might be just doing things like going around and slaying dragons for money as a mercenary, with no real purpose in my life.
Every week I want to be Paul Lacey. I just feel so dissatisfied with my own life.
It's a weird place to be.
Yeah. What about you, Kim? Apart from getting the dogs, anything happening this week, or just want to tell us where you can be found, or whatever?
Anything happening this week? I kind of have to acclimate. I've been gone for 2 weeks, and it's just been a little bit of a whirlwind. But we've actually hired an ad agency, and so that's kind of like the big focus. It's very exciting. But they can find me at kimdoyal.com or contentcreatorsplanner.com.
Thank you so much. Shane, anything for you this week?
Yeah, maybe if there's anyone watching who's interested in learning WordPress right from the beginning of registering a domain and everything, I created a free course that goes through right from registering a domain, setting up hosting, all the way to building a site. And that is at learn.lonelyviking.com.
Nice. You should have said more about that. We could have put it in the news. Oh, shame. Shame. Well, maybe when we finish this, we'll go and examine that together. That would be fun. Cool. Yeah, thank you. Sweet. What was it again? Give us the URL again.
Learn.lonelyviking.com.
Oh, fabulous. Right. Well, I think we've probably said all that we need to say. It's a bit weird, but I'm going to mute everybody's microphones. But if you want to stay on the call afterwards so we can just say goodbye properly, that'd be great. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it very, very much indeed. Take it easy.
Cheers.